Today, we are here with a story that goes from the northern seas to the southern seas. The year is 1714. The War of the Spanish Succession has just torn Europe apart, leaving a trail of fire and steel. But far and away, across the Atlantic, the Caribbean Sea has become the last refuge for men who obey no king, serve no crown, and fear no god. They are pirates, renegade privateers, killers with navigation charts, and masters of the open sea. In these years, a rumor began to whisper through the taverns of Port Royal, Tortuga, and Nassau. A rumor carried on the salt-laced wind. It spoke of an island that appears only once every 10 years. A ghost on the horizon that returns the gold of the dead. This is the story of that island, and the men who were foolish enough to seek it. Our story begins in Nassau, the Pirate Republic, on June 3rd, 1715. Here we meet Captain Elias Crowe, a man known simply as the Crow. His ship, the Raven of the Abyss, flew no flag. For in the pirate world, a man who carries no flag does not surrender. In the smoky haze of a Nassau tavern, Crowe buys a strange map, torn from the cold hands of a corpse. The seller, a weasel of a man with shifty eyes, swore it belonged to a Spanish friar who vanished back in 1698 after looting indigenous temples deep in the jungle. The map was a puzzle. It pointed to a non-existent island, somewhere west of Hispaniola, but it was marked with a specific date. 14 of August 1705, and beneath the date, a single, chilling word: return. Most captains would have dismissed it as a drunkard's fantasy, but not Crowe. He stared at a strange symbol etched into the corner of the parchment, a spiraled mark that made his blood run cold. Because he recognized it, he had seen it before. Weeks later, in the vast emptiness south of Cuba, the Raven of the Abyss sailed into a nightmare. A fog, thick and unnatural, swallowed the ship whole. It clung to the rigging like a shroud, silencing every sound except the creak of the timbers. The compasses on deck began to spin wildly, their needles dancing as if possessed. The sea itself grew still, the waves flattening into a glassy, dead surface. And then, as the first light of dawn broke through the mist, it appeared. An island not on any chart. The jungle was a dense, suffocating green, and from its depths rose ruins of black stone that seemed to absorb the light. Ominous totem poles lined the beach, carved with the twisted figures of men in chains. As the crew stepped onto the sand, they found the remains of old camps. Skeletons lay half-buried, their bony fingers still clutching coins French, Spanish, and English. Pirates of every flag had come here, drawn by the same promise of gold, and not one had ever escaped. As this horrifying realization settled in, a new sound drifted from the fog. Voices. But they weren't coming from the jungle ahead. They were coming from the sea behind them. To understand what happens next, we have to go back. Before finding the island, Crowe and his crew had been busy doing what pirates do best. On Julio 9, they ambushed a Spanish galleon, heavy with gold from Cartagena de Indias. The boarding was swift, brutal, and merciless. Crowe's men left no Spanish sailor alive, but there were other survivors. In the ship's hold, they found a group of women from wealthy colonial families, captured and awaiting a grim fate as bargaining chips or slaves. Crowe intended to ransom them, but one of them, a woman named Isabella de Montoya, looked past him, toward the horizon, with terror in her eyes. She spoke in a low, trembling voice. She said, "This phantom island appears in the forbidden archives of the Inquisition. It's a place of judgment, a prison for lost souls. Those who set foot on its soil," she whispered, "are already dead." A chill went through Crowe. Something about a word struck a chord, and against all pirate code, he ordered the women to be set free on the Spanish ship. But his crew, their minds clouded by greed and bloodlust, saw this as weakness. They saw it as a captain throwing away a fortune, and they rebelled. On the night of July 11th, Betrayal came from the darkness. A second pirate ship, the Red Revenant, emerged from the fog, its cannons roaring. It was crewed by Crowe's former allies, men who had once sworn loyalty to him. Someone on his own ship had betrayed him, sold the map, and led their rivals right to them. The deck of the Raven of the Abyss became a slaughterhouse, the air filled with the flash of gunpowder, the crack of pistols, and the screams of men dying. Bodies tumbled into the unnaturally calm water below. In a fit of rage, Crowe found the traitor among his crew and killed him with his bare hands. But it was too late. The battle had been too loud, the bloodshed too great. As the last echoes of the fight faded, the ground beneath their feet began to tremble. The entire island was shaking, not with an earthquake, but with a deep, hungry pulse. It was as if the very rock and soil were stirring. The treasure, it seemed, could not wait any longer for its offering of blood. Deep in the island's center, beneath a colossal, pre-Columbian statue of a forgotten god, they finally found it, the treasure. But it didn't glitter. It didn't gleam. There was no mountain of shining gold coins or sparkling jewels. Instead, there was a horde of tarnished artifacts, dark and ancient, that seemed to absorb the very light around them. And as they drew closer, they realized the treasure was whispering. It whispered the names of all who had ever touched it, their greed and their despair echoing through the ages. This was gold stolen over centuries, but it was bound to an ancient, terrible ritual. The treasure offered a form of eternal life, a promise of never-ending existence, but at a horrifying price. Your soul would be forever bound to the island, a prisoner in a paradise that was actually a hell. It was then that Crowe finally remembered everything. The mark on the map, the feeling of dread. He had been here before, in 1705. He was the sole survivor of a crew that had met its end on this very shore. He had escaped once, abandoning his shipmates to the island's curse. But this time, the island had no intention of letting him go. In the years that followed 1715, the island vanished once more beneath the waves, taking its secrets with it. Legends were all that remained. In Nassau, they say, a few of the captive women managed to escape on the Spanish galleon, telling a wild tale of ghosts and cursed gold. In Port Royal, sailors swear that Captain Crowe still sails the Caribbean, an undead specter at the helm of a ship that flies no flag. And in Tortuga, the old pirates speak of the Raven of the Abyss, a ghost ship that appears every 10 years, crewed by the damned, forever searching for a peace it can never find. So if you ever find yourself sailing the Caribbean on a day when the sea is too calm and the fog too thick, and you see a ship on the horizon with no flag upon its mast, pray. A pirate thought after a fight, I just hope things don't go badly for us now. You know, that would be tough, because the gold was never the greatest sin of those pirates. Their greatest sin was the curse they unleashed, a curse that still floats, waiting on the silent waters of the sea. Thanks for watching. If you love tales of high adventure and dark legends, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. We'll see you in the next story.